Woj Bomb, Woj Bomb, Woj Bomb, Woj Bomb. Dan Hurley is in serious discussions with the Los Angeles Lakers to become the next head coach of the Lakers. The Lakers are preparing a massive long-term offer to bring Dan Hurley to the NBA. That is per Adrian Wojnarowski, aka Woj, who really kind of took it to Shams. Can we start there for this one, Car? This is a big L for our boy Shams.
Yeah, this is one where Shams is going to have to bounce back massively because also given the time that Woj did it, like a lot is going around right now about how JJ Redick is upset at Shams for how he approached basically the rumors about JJ Redick becoming the Lakers head coach. And my dog Woj came through like, I don't know what the name of the disc would be, Meet the Hurleys, Meet the Wojs or whatever, Meet the Shams, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And he just dropped some heat that we woke up to this morning, which is just like I actually saw it on my phone and I had to double click, probably triple click on the tweet just to make sure I wasn't getting like, you know, parody accounted by somebody, but I did not see this one coming whatsoever.
Yeah, this is why Woj and Shams is one of the greatest rivalries in sports or in the world. Like every good rivalry needs two people who are so different that are so equally like capable of taking each other down. That's why Drake and Kendrick was great. Some would say that's why you and I are great. This is why Woj and Shams are the best because Shams can like get the better of Woj like 7 straight times, and then all of a sudden Woj hits like a haymaker to the gut and Shams is silent about it. The wording, the language of this being so specifically pointed at Shams's reporting of like this has always been the Lakers' primary target is so just chef's kiss to me. Woj stays king here. I'm a Shams guy, but I know he's probably in the K Adams DMs right now trying to get right. So we'll see how this goes. Let's get to the Dan Hurley side of this, though. I sported my Yukon specifically for this video. Look, back-to-back national champions. He is the best coach in the game right now. And I say that at the expense of Bill Self, who you and I have always said is the greatest coach in college basketball. Dan Hurley is the best coach in the sport right now. I think you could argue he's the best basketball mind on the planet right now. And that includes every coach in the NBA. Does it make sense to you that an NBA franchise wants Dan Hurley right now?
It does make sense because of all the things that you just stated. I think that his mentality, the fact that he's a winner, the fact that he is right now at the top of his game at the college basketball level, at that coaching level, he's at the top of the game right now, and in all regards, transfer portal, recruiting, like all that. Outside of Bill Self, like you mentioned, Hurley is that guy who is the one at the college basketball scene right now. So in that regards, it makes sense. And also like I guess I don't want to jump the gun on this. I'll just say that in that regards, yes, it makes sense that they would target Dan Hurley. I'll save other thoughts about like what this is and how I actually feel about them wanting Dan Hurley for maybe a little bit later on once I let you kind of rebuttal that.
I have so many thoughts on this. Let me before I get myself in trouble with any of my thoughts on this. I think this obviously makes sense because Dan Hurley is obviously a basketball genius. Okay, like I will never fight that. I think the offensive stuff that he runs is just so high level. I mean, you heard LeBron and JJ Redick of all people like dicing this up a month ago, and then Hurley goes on the Redick pod, and LeBron had a tweet about it. Like he runs such beautiful action. It's so advanced. It's creative. It has put every player that has come through the Yukon program in the last 2 seasons in such good spots to shine that, yeah, if you're an NBA player, if you're a superstar, if you're LeBron James, why wouldn't you want to work with that guy? And let's be clear about it. When you are the head coach of LeBron James, you're working with LeBron. You're not in charge of LeBron. You're working with LeBron.
What
And
are you sure it's working with?
maybe it's working for LeBron.
Uh,
But I think it's one of those things where I think you have to have LeBron's respect. in order for this to work. And I would say, without knowing what their relationship is, personal level, from a basketball sense, Dan Hurley already has LeBron's respect. So that would be a good starting point. And it makes sense why the Lakers, hoping to keep LeBron James, would want to bring in Dan Hurley. Beyond that, I have a lot of thoughts here because Dan Hurley, let's be clear, if he wasn't winning so much at Yukon, I think the way people feel about Dan Hurley would be a lot different. And maybe you might disagree with me on this, but like, he's like a really fiery competitor ego guy, right? Like, that's an accepted, beloved part of Dan Hurley, the character, in college basketball. Because in college basketball, I think you can get away with that. Like, the best coaches in college basketball are all huge ego guys because they run their ship the way they want to run their ship. Dan Hurley takes that to another extreme of like chirping at fans and just being out there, not being afraid of confrontation with Rick Pitino. Like, I don't know if some of that shit's gonna fly with grown men in the NBA.
Well, you ain't got to think it's not.
It
It's
wouldn't
not.
work, right?
No,
Like,
it's not going to work. And that's the main point and the main takeaway. This doesn't make sense to me outside of the fact that he can coach the Lakers because it is the Lakers no matter what. The Lakers are always going to be the Lakers. And the fact that they could probably make him one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA, probably like top 5. Like he could earn like 14, 13, 15, whatever that number might be, $1 million a year. Outside of that, listen, this is no down of Coach Hurley's coaching ability and who he has as a person, but straight up, like that shit's not flying in the NBA. It's not. Like he's not going to be able to MF everybody and do this, that, and the third, and it's just not gonna work. And I actually think that Hurley, despite all that, would be a good NBA coach. I think that at the college level, he could actually go down as one of the greatest college basketball head coaches if he continues on the trajectory that he is on. And that's why it just doesn't make sense to me, because the stuff that he does do right now and the way he runs his program right now is just not going to work for any NBA team, I might say. But it's definitely not going to work if you like, what is he really going to MF LeBron James and Anthony Davis? Like that's not what, like, you know, that time when he walked past Anthony Day, or when he walked past Edie in the championship game and was yelling at his players and hitting clipboards and all that. That shit ain't flying with the Lakers. That's not flying with NBA players. That style just doesn't work.
so here's the flip. What if it would work? What if that's like a thing that LeBron kind of wants? Because, okay, again, I don't think this should be about LeBron. It is about LeBron, but like LeBron has what, 1 to 3 years left max. Like, you shouldn't be hiring your coach based on who LeBron James wants at this point. But if LeBron truly does respect Dan Hurley to the level that I think he does, maybe LeBron's gonna like embrace that side of this and kind of like view that the same way he would view like a fiery dickhead teammate, like the enforcer type, right? Every team has that. LeBron's had to navigate that. Like, if your head coach is being that guy, it could work if LeBron respects you.
Yeah, but it would work if Dan Hurley was like the 13th guy on the bench coming off and playing like 10 minutes a game, not if he's leading the charge.
I guess.
It's just like, and you pointed it out with the ego talks. It's just so different being at a college basketball head coach and, like, you know, running your program, running it like the way you want to run it. Guys, they, you know, you say jump, they say how high. And NBA players do that to a certain extent, but it's just a completely different beast because it's real life NBA players, grown men.
So
Like LeBron James' son could have played for Dan Hurley last season.
yeah, and I've seen there were people tweeting like, if I'm Dan Hurley, I make part of my deal with the Lakers that like we're not drafting Bronny. And I'm like, that's already a disaster. If that's how we're approaching this, if Dan Hurley's like calling the front office and being like, I demand that this don't happen, like, what, it's just that's not how the NBA works. You have to work with a GM who builds your roster, and then you coach the players that you get. Okay, there's so many layers to this. Before we get to the college basketball Yukon side of this, let's just quickly acknowledge the fact that Dan Hurley coaching Max Christie would be one of the funniest developments in basketball history.
Why would it be one of the funniest
I
developments?
mean, how quickly would Max Christie get chewed up and spit out by Dan Hurley?
Oh, early, very early on.
Card, he calls him an MF-er one time. What happens? A speed dial to mama?
Yeah, it's definitely not gonna. There'll be a trade pretty soon. I feel like if he does become the head coach of the Lakers.
I would selfishly like to see it just to see what happens. But when this broke this morning, I was just thinking about you and all the jokes you've made about the Christie family before, and now Dan Hurley being Max Christie's
Yeah,
coach.
yeah. Tom Izzo rubbed them the wrong way. Well, all right.
Buddy. Okay, the college side of this. Yukon is the best program in the sport right now. I mean, you could make arguments like Kansas.
Hey, Terrace.
Oh, good Lord. We're still doing that.
Hey, big head.
We're still doing that.
You damn Skippy.
So, how obviously if you're a UConn fan, you're scared, you're terrified of this, right? You're on top of the world, you're going for the 3P, and your coach is about to get ripped out from under you. But I think the hope would be you've expected this at some point. Like Hurley, you had to go through this with the Kentucky job with Hurley. Hurley has flirted with leaving for multiple off seasons now. He's talked about how NBA is a goal for him at some point. Like this can't be a complete blindside to them. How much hope do you have realistically that your program can keep thriving post Hurley?
Yeah, I do think there is a little bit of optimism, at least more optimism than I think other programs would have because of the healthiness of UConn's program. And yes, a lot of that is due to Hurley, but I also think part of that is like other guys on the staff, like the Kamani Youngs of the world, the Luke Murrays of the world. Now, do those guys go with Hurley? Who knows? Or do the UConn hire within? Maybe they don't. They don't necessarily. But I do think, given UConn's health of their state of the program, I think they would be in a better position than people might give them credit for.
Yeah.
With that said, though, this is a gut punch. Even if you like there even if you one day expected Hurley to maybe leave or take a next step and maybe go to the NBA, like this is the double whammy because it's the Lakers. Like
Yeah.
if the Wizards offered him 15 million a year, he's probably telling them to go take a hike. But when the Lakers are offering you that, it takes a tough, strong man to say no. And welcome to adversity, UConn fans. You haven't had some in a long, long time. In 2 straight years, here you go, a big helping of it.
Yeah. You are the UConn athletic director. Dan Hurley informs you he's going to the Lakers. Who's your next phone call? It could be Kamani Young. It could be Luke Murray. It could be somebody outside of the UConn program. Who is your next phone call?
Nate Oates.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm making at least 9 to 10. I'm not 9 to 10. I'm making some folks say no, though.
Who else are you making say no? Actually, before you go through names, do you think there's a pool of coaches that would consider UConn that seem to not be interested in the Kentucky job? Like you did the Scott Drew would be interested in Michigan State shit. Are there coaches like that that turn down Kentucky that might want UConn?
Yeah, I would see if Scott Drew would say no. I'd probably even make a call to like Bruce Pearl or something like that. Like I would make calls to all these coaches, like all the big time coaches, and make them say no. Will those coaches say yes? Probably not. But for some reason, I can't shake the fact that Nate Oates might take it.
I could definitely see Oates taking it. Do you believe that that's because Kamani Young and Luke Murray would not be good at UConn? Or do you believe this is just like what any program should do? You shouldn't hire from within. You should hire somebody else.
I think that this is no indictment on Kamani Young or Luke Murray. Like I think that Kamani Young, if they did hire within, I would feel good if I'm a UConn fan. But maybe like that's the backup plan. Like maybe you go for a bigger name and then having a fallback of Kamani Young would be great. Maybe
Yeah.
you even keep Kamani Young on staff if you bring a guy like Oates in to keep a little bit of continuity, a little best of both worlds. I like that style too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think both Murray and Young seem like superstars. They're both going to get a chance. I am surprised that in this era of college basketball, it seems like a lot of these programs are either hiring from within or hiring from a very strange pool of coaches. Like we are now at the end of a cycle. Let's just assume that Hurley actually goes to the Lakers here. We are at the end of a cycle now where Louisville, Kentucky, and Yukon have all come open, along with other schools like Michigan, Ohio State, Arkansas. But I'm pretty stunned by a lot of the names who have been hired or would be rumored to be hired. Like, Cart, genuinely, I joked about it in the Discord, but like, I feel like it's insane that as a Michigan fan, my program got Dusty May in the same cycle that Yukon and Kentucky and Louisville came open. And those guys are either set to hire from within or hire random names that I don't think are as good a coaches as Dusty May. Like, it's kind of crazy to me. And I'm not meaning to make this about Dusty and my beliefs in him, but it's a weird time in college basketball. Because I feel like in the past, when these jobs opened, you had head coaches running through a wall to go coach there. And right now, it seems like there isn't a lot of lateral movement from the best coaches in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, where would you rank like UConn as far as head coaching jobs? Because like, and take away what Hurley has built, like, where would it be? It's a top 5 job probably right now, right?
No
Easily.
brainer, top 5, maybe top 2 or 3, depending on what you're looking for. I think the only hesitation I would have on it being top 5 is from the sounds of it, I don't think their NIL is like on par with Kansas.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's why like that's why this sucks for UConn, because I just think Hurley was doing a masterful job of
Yeah.
just working both basically.
Yeah, 100%. The other side of this, which is a huge side of this, the players. The players on this team, what do they do if Dan Hurley leaves them for the Los Angeles Lakers? Because this is really part of the wildest element of this to me. This could have happened. Well, I guess it wouldn't have happened until the NBA playoffs got here. But like most of these coaching changes happen in like April or early May, and there's a lot of time left, and there's a lot of transfers available left. If Dan Hurley leaves UConn in June for the Los Angeles Lakers, who's on UConn's roster next year? Like they're cooked. They're in a very difficult spot. Like it would genuinely really hurt UConn basketball if Hurley did this to him. And I know he loves UConn, so part of me can't even see him doing that. But like, you would have to feel so bad for Alex Caravan, who, I mean, really put his legacy and his career in the hands of Dan Hurley to just get duped and abandoned a week later. Aiden Mahaney, Terrace Reed, Liam McNeely, all guys that could potentially leave. You have the SpongeBob Mr. Krabs meme.
This is Caravan this morning. This is the whole UConn team this morning. This what the hell is going on? Like everything was so good 24 hours ago. Everything was perfect. They got Caravan back. They get Liam McNeely. They get Aiden Mahaney. We're running it back. We're going for number 3. It's great. Hurley's posting some videos. The portal, some are the Hurley brothers. Yay. Yeah. And now this, like, just insane.
It's crazy. Do you think that, like, your read, speaking for yourself, is Dan Hurley doing these guys dirty? If he ends up leaving after recruiting Mahaney, recruiting McNeely, and I mean convincing Caravan to come back at the expense of getting drafted, did he do them dirty?
Unfortunately, no. He didn't. Like I know that it might seem like he did, but like it's the Lakers, man. It's the Lakers and it's $15 million possibly.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and
just
like
you got to understand at a certain point.
you have to always do what's best for you in the moment. Like, what did we want? Oh, Dan Hurley might get called by the Lakers, so he's not supposed to recruit transfers. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But the only one I would say feels icky. I don't think Mahaney, McNeely, none of that. Caravan feels a little icky given the fact that this happened 3 days ago. Like,
Yeah.
if there have been phone calls ongoing with the Lakers and Caravan didn't know about it, and then, oh yeah, I'm coming back. I can be the greatest UConn player ever, three-peat. Nah, I'm out. Like I wish for Caravan. I don't know how it works. I'd assume he can't. It's too late for him to go back to the draft, and he didn't enter the portal.
No,
So,
he can no, but he can enter if there's a coaching
oh, he
change.
could late enter the portal. You're
Yeah,
right.
you could late. So literally the whole Yukon team could enter the portal if they wanted to, if Hurley leaves.
So we're God, the domino effect for college basketball would be so crazy. I think later this week, maybe tomorrow, or maybe in the full episode with Riley, we'll do like a what would happen to these players segment, because there would be a line for Aiden Mahaney. There would be a huge line for Liam McNeely. There would certainly be suitors that want Terrace Reed. And that's not even talking about the other Yukon players that weren't the transfers already. Like, there's a lot of crazy moves that could happen here.
How many schools have to say no to Liam McNeely for him to finally end up at Michigan? I
Listen,
mean,
man, all I'm
Indiana,
saying,
nah. Kansas, nah. He lands at UConn, nah. Like, is it finally Dusty's time? Is Dusty getting the sloppy force?
all I'm saying is Liam McNeely doesn't have to worry about emissions. That's all I'm saying. And hey, by the way, Cart, since Liam McNeely last talked to Dusty, maybe a seven-figure donation has changed his thoughts on Michigan. We'll see. That's happened since the last time the phone was picked up. I keep going back. You said Oates. Can you imagine if Nate Oates took the Yukon job? Does he bring his entire Alabama team with him? And
Yes.
then what happens to Alabama?
Ah.
ah,
Ah. Ah.
like could we just swap rosters? Like, could all the Yukon guys go to Alabama?
The thing is, like, I just did the Oats to UConn thing. I don't know who Bama hires.
Yeah, just
Like,
the ripple
and
effect.
the thing is, like, okay, this literally could send a seismic effect that will shake the college basketball world because, okay, let's say that the Bama job opens. Randomly, Bruce Pearl takes that job. Bunch of Auburn players go there. Then the Auburn players are free. They're in the portal. Like, it's just this could be this decision is going to be massive for many, many of different reasons, which was why this all ends with Hurley not leaving.
I was going to lead to prediction. What's going to happen here?
Hurley will be the coach of the Yukon Huskies at the start of next season.
How quickly is this resolved?
It'll shake out for a little bit. It'll be fun. There'll be a lot of speculation by many, including us. But like, does this not end with him walking into his office and the whiteboard and writing down, "I'm back. I want 3.
Yeah.
No
So
LeBron for me."
there's a Yukon videographer right now. God, the Yukon content team's having such a great morning this morning. Like, they called an emergency meeting. They ordered like a catered Starbucks order, and they're just in there workshopping. Yeah, I have two things to say on how this is going to end up. You know what's most interesting about the announcement of this today to me? It's the announcement of interest, right? It's not the announcement of an offer. It's the announcement of interest. And you and I are both familiar with our coaches being courted by NBA teams. It's happened to Tom Izzo through decades. John Beilein left Michigan out of nowhere. You know what happened when John Beilein left Michigan?
What?
There weren't any reports of interest. We were blindsided. The report, the Woj bomb itself, was John Beilein has accepted the job for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's leaving. If you're serious, if you're going to go to the NBA, you just go. There's no, hey, I'm thinking about this. And that's all this is right now. It's Dan Hurley's thinking about this. And does it matter? Yeah. Is it going to take this sport by storm? Yeah. Are we all going to do the dance of like, oh my God, what if? Yeah, of course we are. The reality here is everybody loves Dan Hurley. LeBron loves Dan Hurley. Yukon fans love Dan Hurley. I love Dan Hurley. He's great. Nobody loves Dan Hurley more than Dan Hurley. And that's the dance that we're doing right now. Dan Hurley, for the 50th time in the last 2 seasons, is doing the look how much everybody wants me. Look how great I am dance. I could go to the Lakers right now, and it's going to end the way every other pursuit of Dan Hurley has ended, with him saying, well, I could never drag my wife away from here. I can't afford a divorce.
Final Four press conference this season. I mean, I mean, they didn't think we would be here. They thought the Lakers were going to get me. They hated me. They didn't think we win the Big East again. They didn't think the Alice Caravan would be back in this place. But look at me, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like it ends like that.
Some guys are meant for college basketball. Dan Hurley is meant for college basketball, and he may end up the GOAT in college basketball history if this continues. Honestly, Jeannie Buss just guaranteed Yukon a national championship. That's what happened.
Good honor.
The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media big board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/NBA-mini-games.